You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. The season never ends. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A cool morning with a clear sky, the low 49. Later today, mostly sunny, the high 74. Cloudy Tuesday, a chance of rain by afternoon, the high 73. And Wednesday, mostly cloudy with a chance of showers. Wednesday's high 65. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 57 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Martin Weiss.
The AP Top 25 College Football Poll, no changes after Saturday's action. Oregon, number 1, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, and Indiana round out the remainder of the top 5. The sole undefeated team in the NFL, no more, as the Buffalo Bills beat Kansas City 30-21. Josh Allen with a 26-yard rushing touchdown makes it a two-possession game with 2 minutes and 17 seconds left in that matchup. Steelers take sole ownership of the AFC North top spot after they beat the Ravens 18-16. 49ers fall to last in the NFC West after the Seahawks best them 20-17. Chargers improved to 6-3 after beating Cincinnati 34-27. Justin Herbert, 2 touchdowns through the air, also led the team in rushing. Packers blocked the last-second field goal to beat the Bears 20-19, and the Cleveland Cavaliers remain undefeated after they beat the Hornets 128-114. Cleveland is 15-0 on the season. Darius Garland with a 25-point, 12-assist double-double. I'm Martin Weiss.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pick it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. It is a manic Monday. We have Kennington Smith III joining us to talk Bama's dominant win over Mercer. Bama headed to Oklahoma this weekend. Bama hoops falls to Purdue. More Bama hoops this week. And Bama's going through a decommitment trend, even though they're dominating on the field. We'll talk about all that and more.
Good morning. Welcome into the program. We're glad that you got up and at 'em with us on this beautiful morning. Failed to announce last week our winner for the score prediction contest was Jerry from Manchester. He won LSU. And this past week, Tim Coggins won the contest. So kudos to Tim Coggins and his big win. Alabama dominating, did everything they were supposed to do in their win against Mercer with the 52-7 win. Tim Coggins had it 52-10, so he almost. If you nail it, man, if you nail it, I may have to give you 2 or 3 if you get the exact score. I might have to give you 2 or 3 entries, but kudos to Tim Coggins. It was a beautiful weekend. Bama Bama, of course, we'll talk about it in the course of things, but Bama sitting in the driver's seat to make the SEC championship game. It appears that they are, other than Texas, the second highest probability, barring a collapse by Missouri, which is possible. But, Bama has a really good chance to get in. And I am so tired. I mean, I know we talked about it, but I'm so tired of Bama fans. Y'all chicken butts. Chicken butt. Oh, I don't want to play in the SEC championship game because we may lose. Well, if you lose to that SEC champion, you don't deserve to be in the national championship playoffs anyway. You're going to have to beat them to get to it, right, X? If you can't beat the SEC champion and the SEC champion is going to lose to Oregon or whatever, you ain't going to beat Oregon then. I mean, come on. Come on. Give me a championship, baby, in the playoffs. Don't give me the playoffs without a championship if there's an opportunity. So, anyway, I'm going to hammer that all week. I have been listen, X, real quick, I'll give you my thoughts on this. And we'll, of course, it'll come up again. No one would ever say that they didn't want Alabama to play in the SEC tournament in basketball. Why? I think because the SEC tournament doesn't really hurt you in your seeding for the big tournament. It only helps you. And I think because of the Situation Act, with this being the first year, I think the committee is on blast on whether or not they are going to punish teams for making their championship game. If they punish teams who are considered, now the conferences that have divisions, it's a different story. But the ones who have divisions, X, and you take the best two teams, and then you punish that team for playing an extra game, and they were considered better than the other teams and lost to the champion, and now you consider them worse, then they will destroy the conference championship games if that happens. But I think Alabama gets into the championship game, Alabama will win out.
Well, I think part of the fear from Alabama fans is we don't want to end up like Georgia did last year. And I think that's sitting in the back of people's head. Georgia was on pretty much a 2-year win streak. The last time they had lost a game was to Alabama in the SEC championship back in 2021. They run the table through 22. They come back, beat us in the national championship, run it through 22, run it through the regular season of 23, and then all of a sudden they lose to Alabama again for the first time in 2 years, and boom, they're out of the playoffs. But you got to remember,
where did they end up ranked?
They went from 1 to 5.
5. That's my point. They didn't fall below the other teams. They fell they fell to the SEC champion and then the other 3 teams. They didn't fall below the other 8 teams.
Right. I get it, but I think that's the roadblock in a lot of Bama fans' mind.
Because we're still looking at college football the way we've always looked at it. That you have to be perfect, that you have to win all your games, and that the only way to get in is a conference championship. We're still looking at college. We're like nobody is panicking over Alabama's basketball season because they lost to Purdue.
Right.
Nobody's panicking. Why? Because you still have the regular season that will get you. A regular season will get you into the tournament, or you can have an off season and get into the tournament through the SEC tournament. And I think football will go that way. That's just my thoughts there. I forgot that before we get too much deeper, remember that this is the day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Let's get to Chuck. Chuck, you're in on the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning to you all. I hope your weekend went well. And, I'm just going to be brief, but I was calling to let you know that your former teammate, Brother Houston, Sam Shade, his Miles College Bears won the SIAC championship in 53-25 over Clark Atlanta, and they're going to be hosting the first round of the NCAA Division II playoff over in Fairfield, Alabama, and that's level. And I was looking at how they played. They played like you all from 1992. The secondary stepped up. They stand six men after the quarterback, Clark Atlanta's quarterback, David Wright. He's a 5'10" quarterback. He's like Kyler Murray, and he's a warrior too. But I'm gonna land on this one. You never know what's going to happen for Coach Shea. He might end up on the level of it could be a group of 5 or end up in power 4, and you never know. And I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this one. Some chaos just happened. University of Kansas 3-6 upset Brigham Young University 9-0. And look at what that happened. It could have, and all Alabama has to do just finish this season strong, and you never know what's going to happen. It's shaping up the college football playoffs.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Chuck. And kudos to Sam Shade for getting that championship. Hopefully we can get him on at some point this week.
We got Alan joining us on the hotline. How you doing this morning, Alan?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Hey, Martin, we knew Sam when he had hair. That was a long time ago. when he was playing Xbox in the dorm room with, I think his roommate was it George? Because PP and Antonio were together. But it may be it may have been Willie Gasson. I'm not even sure that it's been so long ago. But anyway, all these Fairweather fans, I wouldn't even listen to them because they're the same ones that was running Alabama. They were running Coach Boy out of town. They were the same ones that was talking bad about Milroe. So I have no respect for any of them. That's my opinion.
Yeah, go ahead, X.
No, it's fair weather, and they'll switch up on you quick. I tell you that much.
I have no respect for anybody that does that. They're not true Alabama fans to me. That if you switch up like that, you're not you're only good. You're only a fan when we're doing good. Bama went through some bad years with Albert Means and Antonio signing with the agent. They jumped ship. Like I always tell people, you got your hat, get your coat. We don't need you now. So keep on rolling.
Hey, I'll tell you this: the last 18 years have been a blast for me because, Alan, for me, I didn't really truly become an Alabama fan until those lean years. I was 10 in 2001 when I really first started getting into football. So those first, 6-7 years of my fandom weren't the best.
See, now you're an Alabama fan. Then, if you say that, you're a true Alabama fan. But some of them just because you're from Alabama and wear the T-shirt don't mean you're a fan.
There's one guy who's Jeff Rushing, and I probably should have never even gave him any his name mentioned, but he's probably the worst. I've just had to come to figure out he just trolls just to get comments. He is now talking about he take back over Milroe, and ain't nobody taking back over Milroe in the college game for sure, because Bat played well Saturday, but
that's the first time he's played good in 6 weeks.
He's been garbage. Other than the first half of the Alabama game, he's been pretty pedestrian all year. to be truthful. But I knew if he played well, Georgia would beat Tennessee. You got to get the break. You got anything else, Al?
Yeah, one more thing. Xavier, you was Friday. I hung up too quick. Now, what happened with the car over there in Georgia? I'll go get it now if I need to go repo one.
Oh yeah, well I don't know. Carson Beck might have got to keep his Lambo for another week. We'll have to check in with Blind Squirrel to see if he can keep it for another week.
Oh, I'll go get it now.
Alan, MHS 0407 asked if you were headed to Baton Rouge.
If I need to. Actually, I'm in Florida right now, but if I need to, I still got my 5 trucks, but I also got another business going right now that's getting up. So if I need to, I'll send one of my guys.
All right, thanks, Alan. We'll be back on the other side. We'll add Kennington Smith III to the conversation. We'll also add Robert from Mobile to the conversation. The phone lines are open, 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategy and Solutions Hotline.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very good morning to you and happy back to work Monday. We're moving right along on the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. We do have a little volume on Skyland Boulevard right now. You're on and off those brakes in both the east and westbound lanes. Now, this is in between Hargrove Road and...
Provide you with the lowest possible price. Come experience the Urban's Working Western Home Team service today. Tell them Van the Boot Man sent you. Roll Tide.
Got timberland in West Alabama or East Mississippi? North River Timber Company has you covered. Since 2011, Courtney White, a registered forester, along with his expert team, have been managing timberland and harvesting timber across 4 West Alabama counties. They offer comprehensive timber management plans, reforestation services, and appraisals. Courtney White says timber is like money in the bank. Don't let your investment...
Also giving away a bottle of Steve Azar's new Bloody Mary Mix. Visit us at Pearl River Resort and put the good in your mornings. Must be 21 or older to play.
Hey, I'm Martin Houston, and I want to tell you about exciting news happening at Box Eye Care. They've moved to their new location, bringing you a brand new lab, stylish new frames, and a fresh look just for you. Enjoy their expanded frame inventory, competitive prices, and faster service, all with the same great level of service you've come to know and trust. Discover this full-service eye care at Box Eye Care's new location. With their in-house lab, they offer unbeatable value and one of the largest frame collections in town. Schedule your eye exam today and walk out with new glasses in less than an hour in most cases. Visit boxeyecare.com. That's boxeyecare.com or call 205-342-0660. That's 205-342-0660. Visit them at 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive. That's Box Eye Care. Your vision, our priority.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin News Show with Martin and Xavier as we continue to talk about the game this weekend for Bama's big win over Mercer, as well as Bama Hoops falling a little short on the road at Purdue. But Alan, if you're still listening, Blind Squirrel said he is going to keep you on speed dial the rest of the season. Guess Beck heard us on the radio Friday morning and knew that Lambo was about to get repoed. But we have Kennington III joining in with us this morning. How you doing, Kennington?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So Bama got the big win over Mercer. It was expected that Bama would get it done. But what are your thoughts on how Bama played?
Yeah, I think what stuck out to me was just the defense continuing to force turnovers. This is 5th game in a row with at least 3 forced turnovers, longest streak in the country. They've done it in 6 of the last 7 games. So the fact that they could just kind of continue that streak, I thought was pretty cool. I know they were going to win by a lot, but I was actually surprised that they pretty much played the entire roster. At least it's what it felt like. looked like, once you got down to the end of the game, you're like scanning the roster, like, okay, who is this? Who is that? What number is this? What number is that? So, good to see the defense play well. I thought it was cool that the board kind of cleared the bench and let everybody go in there for a couple of snaps too. So, good win. Good to see Alabama come out and just dominate, not let this become like a game where people get antsy, and came out of it healthy. So, checked all the boxes.
Yeah, it was definitely a dominant win, and as you said, clearing the bench. All four quarterbacks played. 8 different running backs ran the ball, and it's 9 wide receivers and 5 tight ends played. So, yeah, that's definitely what we would call clearing the bench for sure. Before we get deeper into the conversation, we have Robert joining us on the Empowerment and Strategy Solution Hotline. How you doing this morning, Robert?
Hey, guys. How many quarterbacks played? How many? I lost count myself. How many was it?
All 4 scholarship quarterbacks played.
Okay, so that was the 4th string guy that threw that touchdown. I know he didn't recognize the number, but all right, he looks pretty good. Like you guys were talking earlier about the SEC championship game, and like you said, Xavier, we are worried about being Georgia like they were last year. We know the situation is different, but the outcome would still be the same. In fact, the outcome would be worse if we got punished for not winning the conference championship. But last year, okay, the defense was all the teams that made it won their conference championship. All right, okay, that was more tolerable, but this would be totally intolerable. You'll be knocked out for somebody just sitting on their couch that weekend, and you're out of the playoffs while they're in. That's what would make it intolerable. And Martin's suggestion, the idea about, the way they should handle it going forward, I mean, that's where they're going to have to go. It's a good idea. Not that college football is ever slow to enact good ideas, but go that route, make it keep it from being meaningless, the old meaningless game. You pay them to play that game. In fact, you should pay them for their time playoff, but for every game in the playoff. But every postseason game, they should be paid for. And definitely the conference championship. And that way, they play the game, they want to play the game, they're suspended to play the game, and you're your conference champion. And like you said, there is the added bonus. That game might get you in if you're out. So that's a possibility for you.
Kennington, and I'll bring Kennington, what I had said earlier is that the college football playoff is on blast if Alabama were to get in and lose and they kicked Alabama out. If they do that, they will kill the conference championship games. To me, they have to take an approach, Kennington, that's similar to basketball. If you have a good regular season and you're in, you don't go to the conference championship tournament and get kicked out of the March Madness. Now you could go in and help your seed and get to an automatic seed or a higher ranking, but if you make a nice run in the SEC or the ACC or the Big 12, and you're sitting there and you're the second team in or the third or fourth team in, and you're one of those top 10 seeds or whatever, you're not going to be kicked out because you don't perform well in the conference tournament. That's why the conference tournament is valuable, because it's an opportunity for somebody to steal a seed, but it doesn't hurt a team to lose a seed. Now, some teams may decide to rest their legs and not play hard when they're already in, but they're not worried about that costing them March Madness. And if the NCAA were to do that this year, because it's different. If it was East and West, and one team was like, the West Division leader was like the 7th ranked team of the SEC, but just better than the other side. Like we've had numerous times where the East champion would have been 4th place in the West. That's different. But this year it's the best 2 teams going in. And I just think if they were to do that, especially in the divisionless conferences, they would pretty much be putting nails in the coffin of the conference champion because nobody really would want to play in it then.
Right.
What do you
I agree. I agree. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the committee plays this. And like the part about it is that everything that you said is factual and is logical, but there's evidence that suggests that the playoff committee does not value conference championships in the same way. They don't look at it from that same scope. I mean, just look at last year. Florida State won their championship game. It wasn't as impressive as maybe the committee would have liked. They get left out of the playoffs. Georgia was number one, lose a 3-point game to Alabama. They dropped from 1-6. It's not the exact same circumstances as last year, but we've just seen the committee have inconsistencies when it comes to conference championship games and how it affects teams in their playoff seeding. So I understand the hesitation by some fans to maybe not want to play the game or feel like it could hurt the team. But the flip side of it, and something that I haven't, I guess, seen maybe enough of, or what I would think I would see more of, is the fact that Alabama has a really good chance of winning the SEC. I mean, if you just look at what's happening around the league, who is trending upwards more than Alabama right now that has a chance to make the championship? I guess you could say Ole Miss, but they're probably not going to make the championship game. You look at Texas A&M coming off of a blowout at South Carolina. Texas has been struggling a little bit. Alabama's in a prime spot to take a top 4 seed. So that's the way I would look at it, is the opportunity for something to gain here because the team is playing so well right now.
Plus, it's a chance to play for a championship. I mean, that's the part. It's a championship. This is not an extra game. This is a championship game. And if you don't think you can win the SEC championship, what makes you think you win a national championship?
Well, you know, Kennington, Alabama's fans' first instinct is never to look at the bright side first. it's always look at the pessimistic side first. But that's a good point there, too. I don't think that will fly with Alabama fans looking on the bright side first. You know, we want to look at what can go wrong. Real quick before I go, about the fair weather fans, I don't consider anybody critiquing anything that they disagree with as fair weather fans. You're a fair weather fan if you one day you like the team, you wear the jersey, and then they lose and you don't wear the jersey anymore, you don't go to the game anymore. That's a fair weather fan. Criticizing what you see on the field that you don't agree with. I mean, that's football. Are Georgia fans fair weather fans? We all know what they're saying about Carson Beck, and it ain't pretty. So, but I don't consider them fair weather fans.
Here's the fair weather fans that blows up that one point, Curtis. The people who are still dogging Milroe. You're not I mean, I don't know what you are, but you're definitely not. You don't get to call yourself a fan who's critiquing when you're blowing him up over what he's done over the last few weeks. It doesn't matter. I know what you are. You're a hater. And never mind. You may be a fan of Alabama, but you're a hater of Milroe. How about that?
Yeah, I mean the same way with Beck and George. He could play lights out for that couple of games, but they're gonna just harp on all the turnovers in the previous game. I mean that's how it goes.
Do what?
I mean, everybody quarterback has haters. Tom Brady has haters. That's just how the game goes. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, but not like some of these Alabama fans. There's one thing to hate on. How do you hate on what he did against LSU? Tell me what you're hating on from that.
Oh yeah, they say they're harping. They may not necessarily hate that game, but they're just harping on that. But they're harping on what he did in the past. But a criticism of bad plays, including Jim DeBoer. There's been criticism of him too, of what they've done. I mean, particularly at that particular time. Hey, that goes with the territory. That doesn't make you a hater. You just critique.
Hey, Robert.
Because I'll do it.
Robert, I agree.
Robert, real quick.
Critiquing is one thing, but to just get on here and say Milroe is not a quarterback, he's a running back, that's not critiquing. That's the people I'm talking to. I'm not talking about someone going.
That isn't a critique. That is an opinion. That may not be one you like, but that's an opinion.
Robert, do you know what the difference between the two differences right now between Jalen Milroe's career at Alabama and Bryce Young's career at Alabama? You know what the two differences are?
No, what's that?
Bryce won the Heisman his first year as a starter and played in one more game. That's it. And I would say Bryce had better playmakers when you look at a Mechie and a J-Mo and those guys, and a better defense with a Dallas and Will and a Brian Branch and guys like that. That's the difference in their careers.
Milroe has, like I said, I've criticized his play before, too. I've seen opportunities that he had to run, and he didn't do it. And that's like I said, well, I will criticize Milroe, and I'm not going to back off on it if I think it's a bad play, if I think it's a bad game. I don't want to be called a fair weather fan because I did do that. And here's another thing, son. I have thought and said, I thought he maybe a tight end would have been a better spot for you. I've said that in the past. Not a fair weather fan for thinking that. Now, time will tell if one way or the other.
Robert, you're saying you did it once. You did it here. I'm talking about this guy. People dogged him for what he did against Georgia. What? Not how he played against Georgia. How he played against LSU. If you're critiquing that negatively, what are you critiquing? Now, if you critique and go negative about what he did against Tennessee, I get that. He played horrible against Tennessee. But when you look at the stat line and you come out with, okay, Robert, let me say this. Compare back to Milroe the last 4 games, and you come out and you say, I take back, hands down, would never even consider Milroe. What is that?
Oh, I agree with you that Milroe has haters. I think every quarterback's going to have haters. Every player's going to have haters. I agree. There's a difference between haters and critics. But, the way the guy was describing, you're just describing people criticizing. You didn't distinguish that. If you made distinctions, then I would have said, okay, haters, who cares about the haters? Who cares about the haters? But it was almost as if there was no distinction. And I just want to make, there's a distinction, and let's make sure we keep that distinction. I'm going to criticize, and I don't want to be called a hater because I do if I think something's bad. I don't hate, but I will criticize. I
hope anyone would, Robert. I hope no one's that blind that they can't critique. And people get better by critique. That's what happens every time you watch film. If you're not critiquing when you watch film, you're probably going to stay the same and not get better. You're not going to adjust. You're going to stay in that same boat. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it, man.
Okay. Oh, one more thing. Talking about haters. Yeah, I tell you, I was more of a Tom Brady hater than a critic for the longest time. Because I was just a hater, and I was just, I wouldn't give him the props that he was due. It took me a long time to admit he was the GOAT. Because I was just plain hater, and that wasn't pretty.
I still do. I say, and I tell people up front, I know that I'm hating on Tom Brady, and I'm jealous of Tom Brady. The dude, 47 years old, playing the game of my childhood. He had a model. He had a wife of a model. He was rich. She was rich, and he had 6 Super Bowls or 7, whatever it was. And of course, I was jealous of him and hating on him when I talked stupidity about him. But I recognize that.
Yeah, me too, buddy. All right, man.
All right. Sorry, Kenneth, and we'll get you in on the conversation. That kind of got sideways on it. We'll be back on the other side to keep the conversation rolling.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very good morning to you and happy back to work Monday. We're moving right along on the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. We do have a little volume on Skyland Boulevard right now. You're on and off those brakes in both the east and westbound lanes. Now this is in between Hargrove Road and McFarland.
Every game all season right here on your home for Alabama basketball. The Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Dixie Battery Supply takes care of all of your battery needs. Find the commercial batteries you're after and never feel powerless again. Come check out our Northport and Tuscaloosa locations or call us at 205-758-9190. And once again, power up all your devices by using Dixie Battery Supply, DixieBatterySupply.com. They offer
RexMD.com. We've made the process fast, easy, and affordable. Visit RexMD.com right now to get started. That's REXMD.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today, the high 75. Clouds move in tonight, the low 62. Tomorrow, cloudy, rain becoming widespread, the high 68. And for Thursday, the sky becoming partially sunny, the high 66. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 58 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We are joined by Kennington Smith III of The Athletic. Kendra, real quick, Lloyd Townsville says most of these haters on Miro fail to mention that Miro has been dealt with lesser offensive coordinators than Tua, Hurts, Mackett, or even Bryce Young. Miro has done a phenomenal job at Alabama. What are your thoughts on Miro with what he's had to deal with during his time at Bama and how he's performed, especially this year?
Yeah, I would agree. I think you think about all of the turnover that he's had, 2 different head coaches, 3 different offensive coordinators, like you said, weapons kind of coming in and out of the lineup he's worked with, pretty much a different receiving core. From 2022 to 2023 to 2024, every time he's been in the game, kind of different players on offense. He's managed it very well. You look at his SEC record, he's in position to potentially win back-to-back SEC championships. And I think another part of it also is, the fact that Miro didn't have to stay after Saban retired. As we've seen, several players went on to, go elsewhere. Some are starting elsewhere, some are not, whatever the case may be. But Miro didn't have to stay at Alabama, and he did stay to try to see this through with DeBoer. And I remember there was a time where that decision was, applauded by the fans, and he was kind of elevated into a different tier, same with, a lot of players who stayed and kind of helped lead that charge. So that's always something to consider in the back of your mind, is the fact that Miro doesn't have to be on this team. And what would this season look like if he wasn't on the team? Just think about that.
Yeah, I agree when you look at the way that he's been able to overcome a little bit of the adversity that's been thrown at him. As you said, has an opportunity to win back-to-back SEC championships, make the playoffs again. And once you get into playoffs, anything can happen. So specifically about the game Saturday, though, when you look at his performance and how he was able to get the guys involved early, which was something he said he wanted to do after the LSU game, spreading the ball around. Is this offense still moving in a positive direction as far as growing and building on the things that it's done this season?
Yeah, I think so. I think seeing the run game continue to do well. I think the vertical pass game, ironically, has kind of gone by the wayside. That was at one time the strength of the offense. Now we haven't seen consistency in that area. But it's good to see that Alabama is scoring points and to see their offense is moving without what we thought was kind of their bread and butter. So I think that the offense is coming a bit more layered. I think it's becoming a little bit more consistent, a little bit better on third downs, and the offense is starting to gain confidence. So I do think they're moving in a positive direction. Probably the biggest aspect of that is the fact that Milroe looks healthy again, and his ability as a runner really just kind of opened things up. 17 rushing touchdowns this year is so far is pretty remarkable. He's on pace for a 2020 regular season, not just a 2020 season, 20 passing touchdowns, 20 rushing touchdowns. So does feel like the offense is starting to round into form, and the biggest area of improvement that I've seen is complementary football. We're seeing the offense take advantage of the turnovers forced by the defense. That's cost them several games. Really, Tennessee is the one that sticks out. So to see the offense kind of rectify that is probably the most positive sign overall.
Kennington, really quick, do you think the vertical game has gone away because of the way teams are playing us? Therefore, Milroe has adjusted and he's hitting the running backs and the tight ends because the underneath game is open because of that?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And I do like the fact that they're giving him kind of the easy access throws, and they are taking advantage of things underneath. The LSU game was a little bit of a different circumstance. They had two shots. One was kind of like a bang play with Ryan Williams. It could have gone either way. Emmanuel Henderson was a little bit of an overthrow, but the weather clearly affected that situation. So that game is kind of a mulligan. I guess they really didn't have to throw the ball too deep against Mercer. So this Oklahoma game, I think, is going to be a good opportunity to see if they're going to be able to continue to move in that direction. Oklahoma's got a really good defense despite their team's record. Good secondary. They got Billy Bowman back there at safety. So it'll be interesting to see that matchup of their defense and their secondary against Alabama's playmakers on the road.
But real quick follow-up to that, X. With that said, Kennington, I think the rain, forcing him to throw it underneath, not having to throw it underneath against Mercer just takes his play to the next level because it adds another element to this Alabama offense. I don't think Milroe has all of a sudden lost his ability to throw the deep ball once he gets his health completely in the timing back. I think that was what we see. X.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the throw you talk about the throw to Ryan against LSU, and of course, the little bit of an overthrow to Henderson. But then this week, that throw to Caleb Odom, man, I mean, that was just inches or centimeters from being a great catch and another deep shot. So we're still taking them, and we're still hitting them almost in stride. Just one was weather, and one would have been a harder catch, but you hope your guy can make that sometime. So we're still taking the deep shots, but the fact that he's able to move the ball underneath and things of that nature shows the growth of his game. Because last year that would have been a little bit more of a concern. If the deep ball wasn't there, he wasn't hitting the underthrows. You talked about this defense as well. You said 3 turnovers again for the 5th game in a row. That's something we haven't seen from an Alabama defense probably since 2015, 2016, when it comes down to the way we're able to do that. This swarm defense is really starting to take off up under Kane Womack and changing people's opinion from what they were early in the season about this defense. Yeah, they're just playing with so much confidence right now, and we're seeing the dividends of those. And another thing, early in the season, we talked so much about how much they're rotating players and if it's sustainable. That decision and that strategy has paid dividends when you have injuries and you have guys coming in and playing almost seamlessly. I think Deshaun Jones and Bray Hubbard, what they've been able to provide has been outstanding. I think, Quay Russaw and Justin Jefferson and Jai Campbell and everybody that's kind of filling in that void for Quay Russaw, for Q Robinson playing at a high level. So we're seeing the depth of the defense really start to show late in the season. Like I said, the confidence is at an all-time high. So this is a defense that's playing as well as anybody in the country right now, and as opportunistic as anybody in the country. They are legit changing games for Alabama's team. This isn't just a defense that's playing well and keeping the score at a status quo. They are setting the offense up for extra scores, extra possessions, changing the game, and that's what you want to see out of the defense. And in the playoffs, where anything can happen, you want to have as many playmakers and as many wild cards on your side to affect the game, and Alabama's defense is doing that right now. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get to break, but we're going to finish this conversation up with Kennington and also take a look forward at Oklahoma. We'll be back after this.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Come
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we'll talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll talk to Martin Houston. We'll talk to Barrett Sallee. We're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hopefully there's a lot of good. The good is sponsored by Daniel Moore. We'll start taking your phone calls at 2 right here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Happy back to work Monday to you. Traveling on Skyland Boulevard, I do see where there's a little business here around Hargrove Road. That intersection is on the busier side there. And then moving around the rest of the area, well, so far so good.
The police department and the men and women who serve every day. Learn more and apply today at jointuscaloosapd.com. That's jointuscaloosapd.com.
Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. They've been doing it the right way each and every day for 50 years and counting. If you're looking for a great option for lunch and or dinner, then you need to check out Taco Casa. Taco Casa, and while you're there, don't forget to get a big glass of that sweet.
And provide you with the lowest possible price. Come experience the Urban's Working Western Home Team Service today. Tell them Van the Boot Man sent you. Roll Tide.
Visit the pharmacy at Midtown. That's the pharmacy at midtown.com. TJ and his team are looking for the opportunity to provide you with great services, including compounding, home delivery, and a whole lot more. If you're looking for a great pharmacy that'll take care of all of your needs, including wellness classes, including health and more, that's the pharmacy at Midtown. Call them at 205-579-9933. If you're looking for a great pharmacy, you need to try the pharmacy at Midtown. That's the pharmacy at Midtown, pharmacy at midtown.com.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We're live, local, ready to get things rolling right here in your home for Alabama sports. Hey, don't forget to go check out athletesthread.com, athletesthread.com/collections/Martin-Houston. Get your legacy gear. And hey, listen, the weather I think is going to start to cool off a little bit here, but to Alabama fans around the nation that's already getting a little bit of chillier weather, get your hoodie or sweatshirts today. The legacy collection, once again, can be found at athletesthread.com/collections/Martin-Houston. Let's kick it to Kenneth. Kenneth, tell us where they can find you, man.
Yeah, on X, Twitter at Kenny _SKINNY_KENNY_, and then theathletic.com or theathletic, however you get your mobile app, searching my name, Kennington Smith, or Alabama football.
All right. Kennington, looking forward to the Oklahoma game this weekend. On the road again, that's where Alabama has struggled with losses at Tennessee and at Vandy. Oklahoma's kind of down again this year, but this is a team that can score and be a problem. What are you looking forward to Alabama having to do this weekend to get a win up in Norman?
Yeah, this is I feel like this is a big game here, and you can look at it on paper. Oklahoma's lost 4 of 5, and they're trending in a downward direction. But Oklahoma's off a bye week. This is a night game. This is their Super Bowl. Brent Venables, I don't think, is on the hot seat, but this is a stay off the hot seat game for Brent Venables. This is like a back against the wall spot for them to have a huge moment. So I think this is a potentially dangerous spot for Alabama. So what I want to see is, again, the same formula from the LSU game, a fast start on the road, come out, establish momentum, kill the crowd noise, and see if you can dominate the game. So Oklahoma's defense is really good. They're going to test Alabama's offense. I think the crowd is going to be into it. So I think this is a dangerous spot. And that 13.5 line is a tricky number in Vegas because this game might be a little closer than people think.
I didn't realize that's what the spread was. But when we're looking at it from the offensive side of it, talking about controlling the clock and taking the air out of the stadium. But defensively, what does Alabama have to do to slow down this Oklahoma offense that has dealt with a lot of injuries? Jackson Arnold is a very capable quarterback, but he hasn't played probably up to that 5-star ranking that he had coming out of high school.
Yeah, I think this is the game for Alabama's defensive line to face. I think that this is a game for the Alabama defensive line to dominate in terms of stopping the run and then forcing Jackson Arnold to drop back and throw. To your point, he's capable and he is an athletic quarterback, but when Jackson Arnold gets into situations where he has to drop back and throw the ball downfield, that's where Oklahoma's offense really struggles. And in the short, intermediate game, when it's just like, 3-step drop, get the ball out quickly, he looks fluid. When it comes down to dropping back a little bit further, throwing the ball downfield, that's really where they struggle. So forcing Oklahoma into those long down and distance situations and allowing the defense to create turnovers is kind of the pocket that I want to see the defense get into. But this is a money game for the defensive line. This is the game where when you're looking at their draft highlights that in the spring, they're going to be showing clips of this game because Oklahoma's line is really beat up. So I want to see the Tim Keenans, the Tim Smiths, LC Overtons, those guys have a really big day and keep that offense off schedule.
Yeah, and to move off of Alabama on the field, just real quick, Alabama's had 3 decommitments in the last week for a team that has had a dominant win over LSU, dominant win, what you're supposed to do against Mercer. What are your thoughts about losing Caleb Cunningham, a wide receiver, Dawson Merritt, an edge guy, and running back Anthony Rogers as well?
Yeah, kind of odd, like you said. You usually don't see teams with momentum on the field losing commitments, but I think that's just kind of what recruiting is. It's almost like you kind of have to separate the two as we're kind of going through the season. I think if there's a silver lining, is that those are 3 positions where Alabama is not hurting for depth. I think you look at the present and the future of those positions and you feel like you have capable guys on the roster and some that are already committed or still committed in the class. So not to say that those guys aren't losses. They obviously are. All of them are blue chip guys. All of them are going to go and play at high major power 4 schools. But I do think if there were any positions where Alabama could take attrition, it would be those 3 because they have a lot of young talent on the roster.
Is it a money play?
Potentially. Well, I think, certainly when you think about what Ole Miss is doing in NIL, that has to play in with Caleb Cunningham, Dawson Merritt. Nebraska, another NIL heavy school, what they've been able to do as well. Can't really speak on Anthony Rogers, a little bit different situation, but I definitely think there is, some money at play here, and teams are saving their best offers for the end. So they're throwing the sink at these commits, and it's hard for kids to turn that money down.
All right. Hey, that's Xavier Houston. That's Kennington Smith III of The Athletic. I'm Martin Houston. We want to appreciate all of you who tune in and listen to us each and every day. Paul from Prattville said that he tuned in at 6:39 the key there, and heard us talking about Jalen Milroe and said that us talking about it is perpetuating the hate. Nobody in his circle hates on Jalen Milroe, and he thinks he's doing a fantastic job, and we need to move on. If you listen to the first part of the show, you will find out that we didn't bring up the Jalen Milroe conversation. Our callers, viewers, and chatters brought it up, but we'll address it. That's the beauty of having a call-in show. You have your thought, your opinion. He said he's going to leave us and go listen to Wimp and Barry. We'll miss you, but we hope you'll come back. And we hope all of you will stay tuned, because we do give you a chance to bring up the topics that you want to talk about. And we'll give our thoughts and opinions when you do so. We appreciate all of the support. And remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not in your own understanding. All your way to acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Hopefully Paul will come back to us, but if not, at least he's going to stick around with Tide 1.9 and Wimp and Barry. Roll Tide, everybody.
It's a